dear students, welcome to this new session of the Signature of Public International Law. We are in lesson number 24 and we are going to start the unit 11, International Responsibility of States. The subunit 11.1, Breach of an Obligation. The objective of this session is to know the ways in which a regulation of public international law can be violated. Remember that when we finish this session, you will find in the content of the signature an activity that you will have to perform, that it will be an essay in which you will write about the importance of an obligations in international law. Right? Now, if we start, the concept of responsibility, it's an obligation to repair and satisfy by himself or by another's because of crime, fault, or other legal causes. The etymological origin of responsibility is that it comes from the Latin respondere, which means to answer what is proposed, thus satisfying the request, allegation, difficulty, or demand. As a meaning at the international level, it could be considered the obligation to make a reparation to satisfy by itself or by another because of a crime, fault, or other legal cause in relation to the activities of two or more states. So the concept of international responsibility is the legal institution by virtue of which a subject of the international community has the right to demand from another of the same community the reparation of the material or moral damage derived from the breach that is attributable to him of an international legal norm, and in the infringing subject has the obligation to satisfy the reparation. We are going to analyze the violation of an international obligation according to Manuel Sierra, in which a state, beyond the limits set by the competence established by international law, violates the duties established by the same law, causing damage to a state or an individual, incurs in international responsibility, of course. A general principle of justice determines that any harms unjustly caused by another being must be repaid. We are going to analyze the types of violations of public international law that can be by action or can be by omission. In the case of action, is a violation of an international legal prohibition, and in the omission is the failure to comply with an international legal imperative. The legal basis of international state responsibility is the Permanent Committee of the International Court state that it is a principle of international law and even a general concept of law that any breach of an undertaking imposes an obligation to make reparation. We are going to analyze, of course, the elements of international responsibility, and these are the existence of an international legal norm, the conduct that violates the international legal norm. The conduct in violation of international legal norms must be attributed directly or indirectly to the state, and an imputable violation of the international legal norm must give rise to material or moral damage. So we need to have these elements: existence of the norm, the conduct that violates the norm, the direct damage by a state, and the damage itself. The types of international liability is by the number of countries, by the origin, by the organ of state. We also are going to analyze the concept of states' organs, the administrative liability claims, the aspects that justify international responsibility with respect to acts of judicial authority, and the liability for acts of lander. The legal framework of the Mexican federal regime, the legal framework of the responsibility of the lander for their acts in international law, the liability of acts of individuals, the examples of conduct by individuals in violation of international legal norms, the circumstances that requires a greater care in exercise of the duty of prevention. This can be the circumstances of the place, the head of states and persons of international importance, and the additional circumstances that we will analyze in the content.